This is I don't know what you call this, the light, the dash, or the map light assembly, I guess. Maybe that's technically the map light. I don't know. The dome light assembly out of my wife's 2016 Hyundai Santa Fe. That lovely beast right there. And it has a problem, and that problem is that when you open the door, one of the lights will turn on and one of them will not. So if you're looking at it in the car, you'd be looking at it like this. The one on this left side turns on with the door. The one on this side over here, the passenger side one, does not. And it's not the bulbs, because you could click this to turn on this light and then turn it off. This light turns on the bulb and turns off the bulb when you click this toggle in and out. So it's not the bulb. It's something inside of this. And so through the miracle of the internet and YouTube, I actually found a video, and I'll link it for you, that explains what's going on here. You have inside here, you have circuitry. The bulbs are in to complete the circuitry, so you'll have to take them out to test this, but you have these two diodes here. And a diode is, and I'm not an electrical engineer or anything like that, but as I understand it, a diode basically means that power can flow through in one direction but not the other. And so we have two diodes here, one for each side. And the one that says, on the side that says OK, is actually the one that's not OK. And if you test these, which I'll show you in a moment, you'll see that the little bit of power that your meter can put through on the diode test from positive to negative, and you got to pay attention to that little arrow right there. This one actually will allow voltage through. This one, on the other hand, does not. It's out of its limits. It's like having an open circuit, basically. So this is the diode that actually controls the door setting on the switch, which is what's turned on right now. So what we need to do is try to get this old diode out of here, and I bought some the same size, and I'll try to I'll snip this one down to the right size, make sure that it goes in the correct direction, where that little gray band goes from one to the other. The one that's in there looks larger than the one that I bought. They both have the same number on them, so here's hoping that it'll work. Worst case, it's not. It won't, and I'll replace it again. It's better than replacing this entire assembly, which is very expensive, and now that the car is of a certain age, a little bit more challenging to find. So I'm going to see what I can do to replace this diode, and then we'll go from there. Let me show you some testing. All right, again, let me just reiterate that I am not any sort of electrical engineer. I don't have any schooling. I don't have any training in this area. I'm only basically working off what I've learned on my own over time, and with books and the internet and all these different kinds of things. So if I'm doing something here that isn't quite right, I apologize. However, I do believe I'm mimicking what was on the video that I have linked to you. And so you'll be able to see someone else who at least looks like they know what they're doing. So I have my meter on. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a little, maybe that helps. That tells me I'm in the diode testing right here. I'll set this here, which basically, as I understand it, means a little bit of voltage is going to be coming through the system. And so now we can be able to see if these diodes work right. Now, if you look at the arrow here on this, it's the arrow is pointing this way, and then you see like a line here, a dash going like this. So that means that I need to have the negative on this side and the positive on this side. So if you watch my meter here, you'll see, I'll just touch these pads, you'll be able to see you've got some current flowing through. Now, if I just touch the diode pieces here very carefully, you'll see that you get some through. Now, if I switch this around and do it the other way, just touch the diode if I can. Yeah, you'll see it doesn't do anything. So let's go back around here. Right? So that's because it allows power to go basically through the diode this way, but not this way. I know that's kind of layman's terms, but now we're on this side. Let's test it. Let's touch the pads. Ooh, I got nothing. right? Which means that there's nothing going through it. Let me just touch on the diode. Still open circuited there. So let me just switch around, make sure I don't have this backwards. I'm not doing anything. Not doing anything. So that's the nature of that. Now, here's a new diode. Let me just set this here. And so the little band that is on this side, so it looks like power should be able to go this way on these. So let's just do this middle one here. Watch my meter. Yep. If I switch this though, open circuit, doesn't allow through. So that's what we're after here. We got to replace this diode. Now, getting that out of here might be kind of an interesting deal. I'm not good at soldering, getting one in there. I'm not good at any of that kind of stuff. But I do have a soldering iron. It's cheap. It's garbage, admittedly. So I'm just going to try to heat this up and see if I can sort of melt this free on these pads, and then I'll try to pry that out of there and put the new one in, and then maybe put a touch of solder, or well, not maybe, but I will try to put a touch of solder on there to see if I can get the new one in to stay in place. So let me mess with this and see what I can do here, and I'll bring you back as soon as I maybe have something here. Okay, as you can see, I was able to get that old diode out of there. Basically, I just used a pick to kind of get underneath the one side of it, and then the wire, or whatever that's called, the lead or the wire, or whatever that is going into it, sort of snapped, and then I just used some needle nose pliers to kind of grab what was still stuck to that little pad and get that off of there. Now, there's a little bit of a remnant here on this pad, but I think it's okay. I think I'm going to leave it. This side's not so much. And the reason is I don't think I can get it off there easily. But also I think it'll give me something that I can solder to. So I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to solder in the new piece, and I'm probably not going to show that because, as I mentioned, I'm not good at it. So we're going to see what happens. I'll bring you back as soon as I have something. This is bound to be the ugliest soldering that you have ever seen on the internet. But I believe come on now. I believe we got it. Maybe. Well, maybe not. What happened? There it goes. We'll give it a shot. I got it reinstalled back in the car. Right now I have it on the door setting. If I just do on, excellent, both of them come on. Off, of course, it's off. I'll put it on the door setting. I can also press this button and that one turns on. This is the one that before worked this way but didn't work with the door. So everything's functioning correctly so far. Now let me open the door, and you should see both lights come on. And you do. Close the door, and it'll take a minute, but they'll eventually fade off. It takes quite a bit of time, actually. And there they go. I think we got it fixed. Well, as I mentioned to you before, one of the things I am absolutely terrible at is soldering. And it took me a while to fiddle around and finally get that thing to work right. I think part of it is that my soldering iron is actually junk. I'm not sure that it gets to a temperature that's really all that good for what I need to use it for. So, not to mention it's a Harbor Freight unit. So let's just leave it at that. But I was able eventually to make enough of a mess with the solder where it had the diode, the little wire or leads going into the diode and out. I sat them on those little pads as I showed you early on, and I was able to heat that up enough that I could melt some solder on there. Not perfect. I made sure that it, was solid, that it stuck well. That's when I tested it. It said and showed you that I think it worked fine. It seemed to be working fine. And then I brought it out, plugged it into the car, and you've seen the results there. So it's ugly, but it works. And I think that's probably good enough. So I hope you got something out of this. And again, link over to that video that I've shown you, because you'll see somebody who's actually more professional at doing this kind of thing, actually getting it done. I think maybe the person who made that video is probably some sort of electronics person. Who knows? Because they seem to know how to handle a really nice soldering iron. And they also give an explanation for how everything works. They had a diagram for the wiring for the Hyundai Santa Fe. So it's a very useful video, and it helped me out a lot. It helped me to basically diagnose what the problem was here and then figure out how to fix it. So hopefully what I've shown you is that even some random kid who grew up on a farm who might be able to use a soldering iron, barely, can actually fix this. So take care. We'll see you on the next one.